Hello, new Stoics. This is Tim, and this is tonight's nightly meditations. I apologize yesterday for not releasing any videos, but I am under a very tight schedule. There's been some major changes at work, and it's involved me working nights, and so I am more or less exhausted by the time I get home, but I'm trying to do my best to have a regular upload schedule. And so please bear with me until my schedule kind of goes back to normal. So tonight I want to talk about a argumentative method that I'm slowly trying to develop. It's mostly for online interactions, but I feel like it could possibly be used in face-to-face interactions, but it is quite vigorous, I would say, for most discussions. But I feel like if done with a good mindset, and you're with somebody who really does want to evaluate something, it could be a good method. And I'm calling it GOBFAT. And I'm still working on the name, but it means good or bad faith argumentative technique. And I really want to kind of develop the rules. So I think the main thing is we're trying to develop good or bad faith. If somebody is arguing in good faith, they know what they're talking about, they really have researched it and they've come to this conclusion. Now, whether or not that's true or false, that's a whole nother thing. And I think those things could be evaluated with deductive or other logical methods. But this is more or less to try and weed out people who accept ideas based on political advantage. So some people may adopt a position that is not something that they fully have thought up, and they've accepted it because it's a politically advantageous position. And so to weed that out, the first thing I want people to do is ask them if they would like to get involved with the GOBFAT dialogue. Let's just assume yes. And the next thing that we're going to ask them is, what is your null hypothesis? What is the thing that would disprove your theory or hypothesis? What is the thing that would just totally destroy what you believe? And if they don't give you a null hypothesis, or they say there is none, that's when the conversation's over. That's when it ends. We don't go any further. So there's many situations where people have said, they'll have positions where there is no null hypothesis. That's when we can't have rational conversations anymore. When we can't even accept that our position might be wrong, that's when we can't go any further with the conversation. So the next stage would be entering into a Socratic dialogue. And if anybody doesn't really understand what a Socratic dialogue is, there's actually a group of atheists, and there's actually some Christians that have started doing it too. And basically, they will just have a single interlocutor dialogue, which means one person asks questions, the other person answers the questions, and it keeps going that way. And it's actually gained quite a bit of success for some very high-profile atheists and Christian YouTubers and other people. And there's people who actually will just go out in parks and do these kind of things. They call it street epistemology. I'm going to stick with the name Socratic Dialogue because that's what it is. And I don't really think that it really is what they do. This is more of a one-on-one situation, and it could be used online. It could be used anywhere, not just on the street. And it is a Socratic dialogue, so I want to give Socrates his due. So after the null hypothesis, we get into Socratic dialogue, and so to show good faith, we let the other person start the dialogue. So you let them ask what your position is, what it will take for them to convince you, and we will do about 5 questions, and it switches. You started Socratic dialogue, and they are your interlocutor. And after 5 questions, then you have a closing conversation, and you just kind of evaluate where you are. If you changed your mind on something, if they changed their mind, and then you could kind of part ways. You can say, hey, that's, I still stand where I am, but I understand your position a little bit more. And I feel like it's not really about changing minds. It's more to have a better understanding, and to really understand if somebody is acting in good faith or not. Because if someone isn't acting in good faith, all you're doing is just yelling. You're not making any progress, and those kind of people aren't really worth having a conversation with. So I want to leave that with you tonight, and I hope everybody's having a great evening, and I'll probably be discussing this in the future. It may change a little bit, but I really like the idea of it. I need to work it out a little bit more and try it so that I could kind of get the flow of it. But anyways, if anybody has any suggestions, please leave it in the comments, and I hope everybody's having a wonderful evening.